Have you ever felt that spark? The subtle brush of her hand against yours, the unexpected touch that sends an electric jolt through your chest. That moment isn't random. It's not just flirtation. It's a signal buried deep in human psychology, a language most men never fully understand, and a truth women rarely admit outright. When a woman touches you first, it's more than curiosity. It's a window into desire, interest, and instinctive attraction. But if you're not paying attention, you could miss the signs entirely, leaving opportunities slipping through your fingers. Here's the reality. Human touch is primal. It's older than words, older than culture. When someone touches you, especially in a subtle, casual way, your brain lights up. Oxytocin surges, adrenaline spikes, and even before you realize it, your mind starts interpreting that gesture as permission, as closeness, as intimacy. For men, it can feel overwhelming because society has trained many of us to ignore subtlety. We're wired to act, to chase, to make moves, but women, when they initiate touch, are sending a silent invitation. And it's rarely just about friendship. But here's what most people don't get. Context is everything. A touch on the arm while laughing at a joke isn't just a joke, it's testing the waters. A hand lingering on your shoulder while walking. That's more than comfort. It's an emotional probe, a way to measure your reaction. Your reaction matters more than you think. If you pull back, she notices, it's like a signal that she's not being understood. If you respond subtly, with calm confidence, it reinforces attraction in ways words never could. Every touch is a puzzle piece, and every reaction is data your brain and hers uses to decide what comes next. Women are not just passive in attraction, they're active analysts. When she touches you first, she's unconsciously evaluating your emotional intelligence, your comfort with intimacy, and even your energy. Are you flustered? Do you panic? Or do you meet her touch with grounded awareness? This is where most men stumble. They see the touch as a yes, a signal to escalate too quickly. And instead of creating connection, they create tension. Understanding the psychology behind her touch allows you to respond in a way that builds trust, intrigue, and subtle dominance, not through force, but through presence. Now, don't mistake casual touches for shallow attraction. A woman touching you first can be playful, teasing, or exploratory, but underneath it, her brain is scanning for security, confidence, and value. She's feeling out whether this connection is safe, whether you're worth investing attention into, and whether her vulnerability will be honored. And if you recognize it, if you can read the signals accurately, you step into a rare kind of power, the power to make her desire you without saying a word. Touch is a language. Most men are deaf to it, but if you learn to listen, to feel, and to respond intuitively, you become someone who doesn't chase, someone who attracts. This is why men who master this don't just get attention. They get respect, curiosity, and deep magnetic attraction. It's subtle, quiet, but profoundly powerful. And it starts the moment she reaches out first. Now imagine this. She leans in just a little closer than usual, her fingers brushing against yours as she laughs. You feel it, the almost electric charge, a subtle warmth that leaves your chest tightening. Most men shrug it off as coincidence, but here's the truth. She's testing you. Every touch is a question, and your reaction is the answer she's unconsciously seeking. She's watching for control, confidence, and comfort, not your clever lines or flashy gestures. She wants to know if you are someone who understands the unspoken language of attraction, the silent rules that govern desire long before words are exchanged. You need to understand a fundamental principle. Women rarely touch a man first without some level of interest. It doesn't always mean love or obsession, but it signals curiosity, intrigue, and emotional availability. The touch is an experiment, a way for her to measure whether you can handle intimacy without fear. Your reaction is magnified because in her mind, physical closeness is a direct reflection of emotional compatibility. If you freeze, fidget, or overthink, her subconscious registers insecurity. If you respond with calm confidence, a light energy, a knowing smile, she feels a magnetic pull toward you, one that's hard to resist. Here's the secret most men never hear. The timing, duration, and type of touch all carry messages. A light hand on your forearm during conversation signals comfort and interest. A playful nudge indicates teasing, curiosity, and desire to engage further. A touch that lingers longer than casual, even fleetingly, is a test of how grounded you are in yourself. Every move you make in that moment, the subtle adjustment of posture, your eye contact, your tone, either builds connection or destroys it. And women are masters of reading these cues, often without realizing it themselves. But let's go deeper. Why does this work so effectively? Because humans are wired for connection. From birth, touch communicates safety, warmth, and trust. When she initiates it, she's inviting you into her inner circle, even briefly. But here's the catch. Many men misread this as permission to escalate immediately, turning intrigue into tension. Instead, the most magnetic men absorb it, reflect it subtly, and reinforce her sense of emotional safety. This isn't manipulation, it's awareness. It's the difference between being a man who excites and a man who chases. Understanding her touch also reveals her inner state. Hesitant, fleeting touches often indicate curiosity mixed with caution. Confident, lingering touches suggest attraction and comfort. And repeated touches over time? That's her subconscious signaling that she's interested in deepening the connection, but she's still gauging whether you can meet her there. You have an opportunity most men never get, to respond not with words, but with presence, calm energy, and subtle intrigue. This is where attraction becomes inevitable, where she starts thinking about you more than she realizes, and where you gain the rare power of influence simply by understanding her psychology. Remember, her touch isn't just about you. It's about the dance of desire, curiosity, and emotional evaluation. And if you can read it correctly, you're no longer reacting blindly. You're participating consciously in a psychological dialogue most men can't even hear. Now let's reveal a truth most men never understand. Attraction isn't about chasing, it's about reflection. When a woman touches you first, she's not only signaling interest, she's subtly inviting you to mirror her energy. But not all mirroring is equal. If you respond clumsily, overexcited, or with desperation, the spark vanishes. If you mirror her confidence, her curiosity, her playful energy, you step into a silent conversation that speaks louder than words ever could. Every gesture, every subtle movement, every reaction becomes part of a psychological dialogue that determines whether she moves closer or pulls away. Here's the reality. Women are instinctive analysts. When she initiates touch, she's asking herself, without realizing it, is he safe? Is he confident? Does he understand me? Your body language, your calm composure, your subtle energy, all answer these questions faster than any compliment, joke, or text ever could. That's why so many men fail. They treat touch as a signal to jump straight into verbal validation, over-explaining, or trying to impress. Instead, the silent approach, the grounded, intuitive response, is what triggers curiosity, desire, and emotional tension. It's the magnetic pull that keeps her thinking about you long after the moment ends. Now, pay attention to this. Escalation isn't about force. It's about timing, subtlety, and layering intimacy. When she touches your arm during a laugh, respond with an equally confident but natural touch. A brief, light brush of your hand, a gentle nod, a knowing smile. Not enough to alarm her, but enough to acknowledge her gesture. This is the psychological principle most men miss. Attraction grows when tension is created, when there's a dance between approach and restraint. Each touch, each reaction, each mirrored energy becomes a ladder. Climb it too fast, and it collapses. Climb it deliberately, and desire intensifies. Here's the deeper secret. Your internal state matters more than external technique. If you're calm, secure, and self-aware, your reactions amplify her attraction without a single word. If you're anxious, needy, or reactive, every touch becomes a test you fail. Women unconsciously read micro-expressions, tone, posture, and energy. They can sense whether you're in control of yourself and your desires. That's why the most magnetic men appear effortless. They're not trying to impress. They're simply aware, present, and responsive to the unspoken signal she's sending. And finally, understand this. Repeated touches are her subconscious way of inviting emotional investment. If she initiates more than once, she's curious, intrigued, and testing how deep you can engage. Each moment becomes an opportunity to build tension, desire, and connection without overstepping. Master this, and you gain something rare, a psychological influence that feels natural, organic, and profoundly magnetic. You're no longer chasing attention, you're holding space, inviting connection, and letting her desire grow in response to your grounded, calm, and confident presence. This is the invisible power most men never see. It's subtle, silent, and profoundly effective. Understanding her touch isn't a trick. It's mastery of the human mind, desire, and emotional connection. And when you respond correctly, the attraction becomes inevitable. Now, let's uncover the ultimate truth about a woman touching you first. It's not just a signal of attraction. It's a doorway into her subconscious mind. Every touch is a carefully orchestrated experiment of curiosity, desire, and emotional testing. When she reaches out, she's silently asking, "Can he handle this? Will he understand me? Is he someone I can trust with vulnerability?" And the answer you give through your presence, your energy, and your subtle responses determines whether her interest deepens or fades. Most men never see this. They focus on words, lines, or physical escalation. But the real power lies in the unspoken, in the quiet mastery of awareness. Here's what separates magnetic men from the rest. They understand tension and contrast. When she touches you first, you have a choice: to react impulsively, overexcitedly, or with neediness, or to respond deliberately, subtly, and with calm intrigue. That choice creates emotional friction, and friction is what builds desire. Women crave challenge, mystery, and emotional security. By responding with grounded confidence, you become someone she can't stop thinking about. Not because you're forcing connection, but because you are holding a space where desire naturally grows. Let's talk about layering attraction. The first touch is only the beginning. How you mirror her energy, maintain eye contact, and allow subtle pauses between gestures creates a psychological rhythm. Each small touch, laugh, or glance becomes part of a silent narrative, a story she feels compelled to follow. And here's the hidden truth. Women remember how you make them feel far longer than what you say. The touch she initiates is your invitation to create lasting impressions, to embed yourself into her subconscious as someone safe, intriguing, and irresistible. There's another layer most men overlook: anticipation. Once she has touched you, your reactions can either escalate interest or flatten it. Don't rush. Don't over-explain. A light, confident acknowledgement, a calm smile, and subtle responsiveness create space for curiosity to flourish. The tension you cultivate becomes a magnetic force. She begins replaying the touch in her mind, imagining your presence, and subconsciously craving more. This is attraction at its deepest level: psychological, emotional, and almost imperceptible, yet profoundly potent. Finally, understand the long-term impact. A woman touching you first is more than a fleeting moment. It's a test of your emotional intelligence, your self-awareness, and your ability to navigate intimacy. When you honor it with confidence, awareness, and calm intrigue, you're not just creating attraction. You're building respect, curiosity, and emotional connection that lingers far beyond the moment. Most men will never grasp this. They'll see a touch and panic, misread signals, or chase too hard. You, however, now hold the key, the silent, invisible power that makes her think about you long after the interaction ends. So here's my question for you. The next time a woman touches you first, how will you respond? Will you panic, overthink, or step into calm confidence and presence? Write your answer in the comments below, because understanding this could change everything about how she perceives you.